That's one question I have real quick. And then I want to ask about how do you determine your path? Because for somebody that's not a pastor on here, they're thinking, well, why is this episode? How does this episode benefit me? I'm not a pastor. Well, I want to ask about like how you determine that path. What are some of the questions that if I'm a pastor going into your group, I know you guys have some training or you've done an episode about how to determine which way to go down. But how do pastors find time for this? Like, like you mentioned it right there, Les, that Jody's not out in the field 8 hours a day and he has a team. So how would you suggest a pastor even find a time to add a side hustle like this?
Sure. Well, for one thing is that we just realized that everybody in the whole world is 168 hours in the week. Yeah. And so to have a mindset that I just don't have time or I don't have time to do something else if I want to is just not true as we scan look around and see many people that are. We're distracted people. And so I'd say, there are ways to take time audits and then get in front of your schedule and actually be proactive to take time even on a Sunday night or a Sunday afternoon, maybe some downtime to plan out your entire week. Because if you don't plan it out, someone else will. And I think what a lot of pastors do, because there are so many needs, is we passively we have a passive attitude toward our schedule just because we don't have to look for things to do. There's plenty to do all the time. Right. But if you get proactive and disciplined, show some discipline, and then cut out some of those distractions, whether it's social media or television or even distracting answering email throughout the day. There are some ways to triage that time and get on top of it.
That's good.
Yeah, I thought of a joke when you asked that question about where do you find the time. I was going to say, well, I find mine in the couch cushion that falls out of people's pockets. And so just obviously, we don't find the time. This is the counterintuitive part I love to share with pastors. It's going to sound really, like I say, counterintuitive. I think when you have some kind of additional identity beyond pastoral ministry, it forces you to be a better steward of your time. And because like Les said, we all have that 168 hours in the week. Right. And so I actually think it's a good thing when a pastor can't just have limitless time in ministry, because as Les said, ministry will just take all of it. And pastors will make the mistake of just giving more and more of their 168 hours to ministry until it becomes this all-consuming taskmaster that leads to a really dark place. So I think it's actually healthy for a pastor to say, I have this on my schedule as a pastor. The calling is 24/7. It never stops. Right. But then I have these other areas where I block out time on my schedule and take control of those 168 hours. You can get a lot accomplished when you're not just in reaction mode all the time. So you don't find it. You create it. You manage it.
That's good. That's good for anybody, no matter who's listening to it. So, okay. So the pastor that goes into your Entre Pastors group and like, this is awesome. I'm ready to do something. How do I find my path?
What we encourage, and this is, again, will extend far beyond pastors, is what we encourage people to do is really have some of those self-awareness. There's different tools out there that you can go down, the spiritual gifts inventory. We love to use the acronym SHAPE. We stole it from Rick Warren, where he talks about my spiritual gifts, my heart, my abilities, my personality, my experiences, that God has worked through all of that to uniquely shape us. And so we can introduce you to these different pathways of, whether it's the information-based thing or the service-based thing or the e-commerce, like we can introduce you to these things. But you're going to find that one or two probably resonates with you more than others. And we encourage pastors to lean into that. Again, I think in the church, there's been this narrative that if you desire it, it must not be of God. Like we should suppress those things, because if I want something, God probably wants me somewhere else doing something that makes me miserable. And that flows out of a very warped view of who God is. Like we have really helped pastors see that if you are delighting yourself in the Lord and walking with him, you can actually trust the desires in your heart. So I would just say, what do you want? What do you want? Is there something about owning your own business that has you out building something or painting something? If that lights something up inside of you, it's because God put it there. If the thought of having your own podcast or YouTube channel or a book of your own is and getting to go speak to stages and audiences beyond the four walls of your church, if that lights you up, God probably put that inside of you. So let's lean into that and just grow in that awareness of who you are, who God made you to be, and the path will become evident for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, Ryan, I'll give you an example. I recently talked to a man that he's in his early 60s. He is very much stuck. He's discouraged, probably even been through some depression. He's talking about doing something else or something in addition to, but we start having conversations like this, and he'll claim that there's just nothing, that there's just nothing that he would love or that he could make some significant income from that would mean anything. And he's just listening to some awful voices, including his own right now. Right. And so I'm coaching him some and having these conversations. And I just thought I'll just go and just look at his Facebook stuff, social media stuff, just to check it out. And look, this guy, he's very, very fit. He knows a lot of people. He's a fun guy. There are all kinds of pictures of him with 8 to 10 men. They're climbing the Grand Canyon or hiking in the woods or off on these outings. I know of people he doesn't think that that's a skill at all. He thinks that's fun. That's a hobby for him. Yeah. And so he's in the mindset, if something's not hard, then it's not work. And I guarantee you that it wouldn't take him long to go to the people that are in those groups or in those communities or people that they know, because I know that there are people who would pay for an experience like that with another group of men, get away from the phone, get away from a computer, get away from people needs, and just do some soul searching on a retreat with some other men. And he could do that. And I can't wait to talk to him again, because I'm going to tell him that if you would have him list 100 things that he could do, that would not be one of them, because it's fun to him.
Yeah.